Today we'll be telling you the story of how we narrowly escaped the Philippines at the beginning of the COVID-19 lockdown. Ready?
Ready. So we just got to Siargao and our plan was to be here for 3 weeks. We were looking forward to spending the final part of our trip surfing and exploring and just having an awesome time.
Yeah, I only get to surf like once every 2 years. So I was really looking forward to like 3 weeks solid surfing.
We got there that first morning because we had gotten up at 3:30 and got the early ferry. We had a good part of the day still, and so the kids spent that whole first day there surfing.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know if will ever figure out where the road goes.
And then while we were sitting on the beach, we got a phone call from my dad. And he said, "Are you guys listening to the news? Are you paying attention to what's going on?" And we said, kind of, but not for the last couple days. The Manila airport had closed that day. They announced on the 11th, they closed on the 13th. So there was 2 days heads up. And he said, things are changing pretty quickly. And you guys might have to make a decision to either stay and be stuck in the Philippines for who knows how long, couple months, 6 months, who really know. Or you might have to cut out early and come home. So we kind of figured that, well, with 2 days heads up, that gives us enough time to get to Siargao City to fly out. So we weren't really in too much of a hurry to make a quick decision and cancel the trip and fly home.
I was a little bit more concerned. And when he came in, he just said, "Oh good, we'll just quarantine here. We'll get stuck here. This is like paradise, awesome."
But yeah, we were kind of going back and forth. Should we stay? Should we go? But either way, we figured that we thought we had a few days to make a decision. So when we went to bed that night, we really had no idea how crazy our next 5 days were gonna be.
So that night, in the middle of the night, we got some more messages from Jesse's dad, and he was basically saying, things are changing fast. You guys need to book some tickets and get out of there. Get home before the Philippines closes. The States and Canada were closing. Borders were kind of closing everywhere. And we didn't have a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. And Siargao City, the airport closed.
This was such a hard decision for us because we had planned our trip basically around Siargao. That was our final destination. This is the place we had been planning and looking forward to the most. And we had gotten there the day before and we're already talking about leaving the next morning.
So we did in the middle of that night. We stayed up all night. We decided we should probably play it safe, especially because we have 4 kids traveling with us. We decided to book new tickets out of Cebu City. So we stayed up all night trying to find tickets.
This was not an easy task because I think everybody was starting to panic, all the travelers, and flights were just, you'd look at a flight and they'd be gone just like that.
Yeah.
So it took me probably 3 hours just to find tickets for our family.
Mm-hmm. So this is what we were up against. We had to get a ferry to Siargao City. We had to find a way from Siargao City, knowing that the airport was already closed, to Cebu City, to make our flight from Cebu City to Korea, from Korea to LA, and from LA to Vancouver, and then from Vancouver home. Our first challenge that we faced we found out when we woke up in the morning is that Ben was sick. He had a runny nose, he had a cough. We had heard of all the screening that was happening in the States and in Korea, health screening, and we thought we might not get through. Even if we can get to Korea, they might not let us on the plane to go to the States. And if we get to the States, they might not let us onto the plane to Vancouver.
I contacted our Airbnb host. To our relief, he happened to know a guy who worked on the ferry. He told us he would talk to him. There was talk of the ferry not running the next morning. And he got back to us right away to say the ferry is doing one last trip and he saved the last 6 tickets for our family.
So that morning while we were on the beach, we were surfing and enjoying what we knew was our last few hours. So today's kind of bittersweet. Sweet because we're having fun here at the ocean. Kids are surfing. This place is beautiful. We've had one full day and we have to go home. So we had 21 days here. We had 3 weeks here, and now we leave in a couple hours. The coronavirus situation has changed so much. We told the kids that we have to go, and everybody was super bummed. We got to enjoy the last couple hours at the beach, but all we got to see of Siargao was the main street, General Luna, and that one beach, Jacking Horse. And that was it.
The kids took it really well. Avery shed some tears on the beach that morning, but everyone understood, even though we were all really sad.
Mm-hmm. You want to stay?
Mm-hmm.
How come?
Because we only got to surf for 2 days and we were going to be here for 20 and go to everything else.
Yeah, we didn't get to see anything, right? And you loved it here?
Mm-hmm.
Should we live here?
Yeah.
Yeah? For how long?
6 months.
6 months?
Mm-hmm.
Just here on this island?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, so we really sadly headed to that ferry terminal and caught that ferry from Siargao to Siargao City. We thought that the planes in the Philippines were small and not a lot of room. That ferry was so tight, I couldn't even sit down. Like there was probably 6, maybe 8 inches between seats, and I couldn't fit.
This one.
Can't believe you even have a pool right there.
So on that ferry, when we found out that was the last running ferry, we could look back at Siargao and see all the people that didn't get off are now stuck there, that didn't get on the ferry are now stuck. And then looking ahead to Siargao City and not knowing what's in store for us in the future, we weren't sure if we made a mistake or not, because if we were going to be stuck, Siargao was the place to get stuck. So when we landed in Siargao City, that was the first part of our journey complete. So we called our Airbnb host that we had in Siargao City, Orlando, and he helped us book the tickets for the night boat, the night ferry going from Siargao City to Cebu. So we just completed the first stint of travel, the ferry to Siargao City, and bought tickets from Siargao to Cebu, and that one's going to be 10 hours through the night. So him knowing that we were going to be sitting in the ferry terminal for 12 hours that day, he came and picked us up. He bought us his favorite Filipino snacks. He drove us to his favorite beach, and we hung out with him all day and watched the sunset at the beach. And even when we offered to pay him for the food or at least the gas, he refused, and he said, no, this is the way Filipino people are. We're known for being hospitable, and that's our way. And it was awesome.
It was amazing, and it was an answer to prayer. And even just arriving in Siargao City, it was not the same city we had left 2 days before. Everybody, like the town center that was so quiet, was just bustling and crazy. And we asked Orlando what was going on, and he said, everybody's panicking, everybody's buying rice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in Canada and the States, people panic by toilet paper. And in the Philippines, they're smarter and they panic bought rice. Something you actually need to live, and something that you don't need to live.
And people in the Philippines are like, toilet paper? What do you use toilet paper for?
Yeah, use your hand. What's wrong with you?
So Orlando dropped us off at the ferry, and they right away took our temperature, and Ben did not have a fever, so we were pretty confident it wasn't the coronavirus. We boarded the overnight ferry and snuggled up in our beds, and we were just relieved that we made it onto the ferry.
While we were on that night ferry, we found out that the airport in Puerto Princesa was now closed. So we were a little bit worried about the Cebu airport closing. And we also found out that that ferry we were on was again the last ferry running. As we were pulling into Cebu City, I stepped outside and watched the sunrise over the city. And it was a really strange feeling. It was like everybody in the boat, everyone was kind of panicking a little bit. Everyone was really on edge and worried. It kind of felt like the world was ending and the next thing was like Zombieland. But staring at that sunrise, it was this strange just sense of peace. It's like the sun's still coming up, the world is still turning, God is still in control, and no matter what happens, we trust Him. How did you sleep?
Good.
You did?
What about me?
How did you sleep? So we docked in Cebu City, so the next part of our journey was complete. And at this point, we had been already traveling for 26 hours. And the night before we left Siargao, we were up all night trying to rebook flights. So we decided to get a hotel in Cebu City because we had 18 hours before our flight left. We did end up getting a couple hours sleep, but we also thought that because it was one of the last flights out of the country, we had a feeling that they may have overbooked it and oversold it. So we wanted to check in early and make sure we had our seats on the plane. But right as we were about to jump in the taxi to go to the airport, Ben threw up all over the convenience store, like puked all over the place. Which we were thinking, oh man, we have the next like 55 hours of travel to get home with a puking kid. But at the same time, it was almost a relief because we thought that, oh, if he's puking, it's definitely not the coronavirus. Because at that time we had thought vomiting was not a symptom of COVID-19. As it turns out, a few weeks later when we got back, we found out it is a symptom of COVID-19, especially in kids. So for the next 14 hours, we just sat in the airport and we watched as a lot of the other flights would just come up canceled on the board. And we just kind of hoped that ours wouldn't come up because we knew that if we didn't catch this flight, we weren't leaving. We ran into somebody on the ferry that said they had a flight out of Siargao City, and it was 5 hours before their flight left. They got a notification that they were all the flights are closed. So we're really hoping the same thing doesn't happen here, or we could be in trouble. So it looks like we're gonna get through. It boards in 1 hour, so I think we're okay. 11 o'clock now, 11 p.m. So we're at like 44 hours now because we were up all night changing tickets, rebooking tickets the day before we left Siargao. Brienne's had 3 hours of sleep in the last 3 days. And now we got a 5-hour flight to Korea through the night. We get there at 5 a.m. It's gonna be a long few days, and I wish I could just sleep anywhere like that, but
We were able to get onto our flight to Korea, and that was the next leg complete. So when we got to Korea, we were not looking forward to it. We knew we had a 15-hour layover, and anyone who's been in an airport, they're not usually equipped for long layovers. Korea is the best airport we have ever been to, and we immediately found an amazing sleep room with actual beds, like little pods to sleep in.
yeah, they did have the napping room, and that was awesome. But as soon as we tried to sleep, the security came in and kicked us all out. So we did make it to Korea about 5 hours ago. And if there's an airport to have a 15-hour layover in, this is the one. When we got here, we found up here there's a nap room, and there's beds you can lay on and have sleep in there. But I don't know if you can see behind me, there's a bunch of bags in the window there. So someone left their bags. So security came in and kicked everybody out of the nap room and roped it off. So we got about 10 more hours here. We're gonna get some breakfast now, and then hopefully we did like an interview when we got here, so I think that's the health screening, so I think we've made it through, but I'm not 100% sure. There might be more, but Ben's feeling good, which is good. He slept the whole plane ride basically. Here's your hair.
Hi, Daddy.
Hey, buddy. So after, when they found out who owned those bags and they knew there was no bombs in them, they let us back in the napping room. The napping room is open again. I guess they figured out whose bags those were, so back to napping. But shortly after, again, we were woken up, but this time there was like alarms going off, like scary sounding alarms.
And notifications on everybody's cell phones.
Everybody got a text with this thing saying extreme emergency alert. And because it was in Korean, none of us knew what was going on. So there was like 15 people in that nap room, and everyone started freaking out. Like this guy stands up just cussing and swearing, and then there's this lady like sobbing, crying, and everyone's freaking out.
At
Nobody
this
knows
point, anyone who's traveling is the same as us. Like, your nerves, you're already just right on the edge.
So I took my phone and went and got someone to translate it, and all that it was a notice saying that the virus had reached a new, like there was a confirmed case in a new city. But like, why would they do it like that?
Yeah.
Why would they alert, like there was alarms going all over the airport,
Yeah.
and then plus everybody was getting texts to their cell phone. Like, why would they do it like that? Like, if people aren't freaked out enough already, like. So a bunch of terrorists were sleeping in that napping room when that emergency alert thing went off. So I think it said extreme alert or something like that, but it was in Korean, so everyone's freaking out, wondering what's going on.
Here, let me just see what time.
So we're just about to board, heading to LA, and we're at 63 hours of travel now. So kids are acting. Are you crazy or happy? Are you crazy or happy?
Happy. I look crazy.
Yeah, Ben's crazy. So we were able to get on our flight in Korea. after some health screening, and we made it to LA. So that next part of our journey was complete, and LA was smooth sailing. We saw on the news all like the strict health screening in the States, and we were kind of freaked out about it because of Ben being sick. And they didn't even ask us anything.
I was shocked when we got to LA because Philippine airport and the Korea airport, they were like ghost towns. They were so dead.
Yeah.
They had on the intercom to social distance, they had canceled almost every flight to prevent people being close to each other. And then you get to LA and you're sitting shoulder to shoulder in this crowded waiting area. And there's people coughing all around, and I was surprised.
Yeah, they didn't ask us where we were, what country we came from, if anyone was sick. They didn't ask anything. It was like a regular day in the airport to go through LA. So, I mean, at that point, we knew we were getting home. Or at least we were getting to Vancouver.
We made it. Canada, baby! I mean, we're excited now, but as soon as the door opens and we get outside and it's 0 degrees, we'll wish we were back.
No, right now, 2-week quarantine is looking really good.
Yeah, quarantine actually is looking pretty nice. We can sleep for 2 weeks after that.
So when we got to Vancouver, we had been traveling for almost 5 full days now. We had spent so much money on changing flights, hotels, whatever, that I just wanted to power through and just drive home and get home. But my dad was generous enough to buy a hotel for us for the night. So 5 days basically straight of travel meant almost no sleep and definitely no shower. So this hotel here definitely checked off a few boxes. So even though we got like a good night's sleep in the hotel, that next day driving home was probably the hardest part of getting home. I was so bagged, so tired. We were both exhausted. Like we hadn't slept for almost 5 days. Like very little, like a couple hours here and there over 5 days. So tired, and like felt like the ground was moving underneath us and just completely out of it. That was like, I was only like 60% sure we were gonna make it home alive.
So we're on the road to home. Had a good sleep last night, but definitely not a clear brain yet. Yeah, I definitely feel like they say if you're sleep deprived, it's the same as being intoxicated, and driving is not easy. We're not in the Philippines anymore, Ben. Look around, buddy. These are pine trees, not palm trees. Right now I'm playing a game. It's me versus sleep deprived insanity. And the game is don't commit vehicular manslaughter due to negligence. So far I'm winning. Excuse me, sir, on the motorbike. Just want to let you know I'm doing everything in my power not to end your life today. Welcome.
I have offered to drive because I feel totally fine, but you won't let me. So don't you complain. Don't trust me. I'm wide awake.
So Brianne keeps saying, "You're so tired, just let me drive." And then just now she goes, "Oh my goodness, that car's driving itself." But it was being towed by a RV. And this is why she does not drive.
As we were pulling into Vernon, we were kind of talking with the kids, asking what their favorite parts of the trip were, what everybody's highlights were. We were just reminiscing of all the good times that we had.
William, what was your favorite part of the trip? Jacob carrying the dog
That was your
food.
favorite part of the whole trip?
So yesterday, Jacob was picking up corals on the beach.
No.
And he was collecting them. And he was carrying them around for about an hour and a half until he shows us them. And one was a dried up piece of dog poop he'd been carrying around. Was that so funny, Avery?
Yeah. I even wrote it in my journal.
Okay, Avery, what was your favorite part of the whole trip?
Seeing the waterfall.
The waterfalls. Thank you. Okay, okay, Ben, what was your favorite part of the trip?
It was when Jacob's foot was sticking out.
When Jacob's butt was sticking out?
Yeah.
We're really picking on Jacob today. That did happen.
That never happened.
It's not a question of it happening, it's which time are you
It
at?
happened a couple times. On your trip, what was the favorite part of your trip? The airplanes?
Aren't you sick of airplanes after?
Jacob likes
80 hours
free
traveling?
Coke. Free Coke.
Yeah.
He what Jacob likes is sitting. Jacob likes sitting, watching shows, and people bringing in Coke and food. That's Jacob's favorite. Okay, what was your favorite part?
I think the sardines was.
Okay, my favorite part was between the island hopping in El Nido or the whale sharks.
This is so beautiful. It's so pretty.
And we were just so thankful that we had that month that we got there.
We were glad to be home. It was a relief to get home after that long of traveling. But we were sad, we were really sad to leave. But also really glad for the memories that we made as a family. And also, we know that one day we will be back. We love the Philippines. Like really, really loved it. For those of you that have been following along with us as we've been recapping our trip, we want to thank you. We're not 100% sure what's next for us, but thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, but keep your eyes open because this is not the end of our adventures.
No, not even close.
Hi everyone, thanks for watching our videos. See you next time on our next adventure. Bye.